welcome to the weekly highlights program in Azərbaycan Televiziya with the major developments of the week. I'm Gülar Qocaman. Now, first, let's take a brief look at some of the top stories of this week. President İlham received credentials of the newly appointed ambassadors extraordinary and plenipotentiary of Japan and Greece. This week, President İlham and First Lady Mehriban Aliyeva took part in the inauguration of educational institutions. On August 31st, President İlham inaugurated in a video format another modular hospital of the Health Center of the Ministry of Emergency Situations for the treatment of coronavirus patients. Events held in a video format require special technical skills and each moment should be worked out in detail. The pleased anticipation of the technical and medical staff before inauguration is also understandable. Commissioning of another hospital means additional opportunities in the fight against the coronavirus. The decision on the construction of modular-type hospitals had been taken before the time when the virus spread in Azerbaijan. The following events confirmed that targeted instructions of President İlham played an essential role in keeping the disease under control. The modular-type hospitals commissioned so far around the country have been built in the shortest time and created additional opportunities in the fight against the disease. In the hospital, each bed is provided with devices connected to the oxygen supply line. The equipment, in accordance with the most modern standards, makes it possible to treat patients with coronavirus faster and better. One of Azerbaijan's advantages in the fight against the virus are the leading places in the world in terms of the number of tests per capita. One of them is being commissioned in a modular hospital health center of the Ministry of Emergency Situations, and the treatment process will be carried out in the centralized manner. The data management system allows to monitor medical processes both inside and outside the hospital.
Bugün ülkemizde yeni bir hastahane açılır.
President İlham noted that the commissioned medical institution is one of the largest hospitals in the country, equipped with modern medical equipment, expressed confidence that the activities of the new hospital will play a vital role in the fight against COVID-19. The head of state stressed that all this testifies to Azerbaijan's successful fight against COVID-19. Speaking about state care for doctors' cooperation with World Health Organization, Azerbaijan's humanitarian aid to other countries in connection with this pandemic, President İlham noted that active work is currently underway with several companies to deliver the COVID vaccine to Azerbaijan. Underlining the importance of civilian responsibility in the fight against the virus, the head of state said that punishments are applied to all categories of people. No discrimination should be allowed or is allowed. In particular, President İlham said that the pandemic has had a negative impact on both the country's economy and the social situation of the people. Tangible steps are being taken to reduce the consequences of this impact. About 5 million people are covered by a large social package. Both the public and private sectors, as well as the unemployed, including those working informally, vulnerable people, all categories of people are provided with financial support by the state. This shows once again that the well-being of people, their social status, and of course their health is a key issue for the government. From the very first days of the pandemic, I said that human health is a priority for us, and we have made every effort to address the issue. Of course, under such circumstances, economic difficulties were inevitable, but I think that the economic situation in Azerbaijan is better than in other countries. We are well aware that in some developed countries, the economic downturn during the pandemic is at the level of 10, 15, 20, 25%. It's also at high level in developed European countries. As a result of the measures taken in our country, the economy fell by only 2.8% in 7 months. Given the global landscape, I think this is a good indicator, the head of state emphasized. Head of the Department for Organization of Medical and Psychological Aid of the Ministry for Emergency Situations, Major of Medical Service Hanım Safiyeva, expressed gratitude to President İlham and First Lady Mehriban Aliyeva for the creation of this medical institution and spoke with satisfaction about the work carried out by the state to strengthen social protection of medical workers and doctors. She noted that the modular hospital of the Health Center of the Ministry of Emergency Situations is provided with the latest medical equipment. This in turn will create ample opportunities for organizing the high-level treatment of patients with coronavirus. On September 1st, President İlham received credentials of the newly appointed Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Japan, Junichi Wada.
Mr. President, I will be honored to present to you the letter of credit accrediting me Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary to the Republic of Azerbaijan and the letter of record of my predecessor. Also, let me convey the message from His Majesty the Emperor of Japan. He extends his deepest sympathy for any difficulties of your country caused by COVID-19 infection, and sincerely hope friendly relations between our two countries will be further enhanced in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Very glad to see you. Also please convey my best wishes to His Majesty the Emperor. I wish you a pleasant stay in our country. I'm sure that you will be very busy because the relationship between Japan and Azerbaijan developed very successfully, and we have a very broad agenda of cooperation. First of all, of course, our political dialogue is very active. We see good results in the economic area. We are glad that Japanese companies are interested in doing business in Azerbaijan. They are good investors. They invested a lot of funds into the oil and gas sector of Azerbaijan. Hopefully other sectors of our economy also will be of interest, especially taking into account now improving in the business climate situation, and that Azerbaijan continues to be attractive for foreign companies. We're also very grateful for financial support of different projects. With the financial support of Japanese banks and financial institutions, we implemented two important projects of our energy infrastructure, two power stations, Shimal 1 and Shimal 2, a total of about 800 megawatt. And this, of course, is a big contribution to our energy security. So we are glad that Japanese companies work here, and also like to express gratitude for your voluntarily support to different social projects related to education, related to infrastructure, water supply in different villages. We highly value this gesture of friendship, and therefore I'd like once again to express gratitude to your government and express hopes that in the coming years we will strengthen our successful cooperation. I wish you all the best in your duties in our country.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'm very grateful for these almost 30 years. Both nations have deepened mutual understanding and friendship. And we have no political issues of concern. And we achieved a lot of economic and business cooperation projects. And exchange of both country peoples being increased so rapidly. We are very happy, and I'll do my best for further development for wider sectors and wider spheres. As your president mentions, not only oil and gas sector, but I'd like to place importance on for example, IT, digital transformation of society, or ecology, or various issues related to the climate change, agriculture, of course, tourism, so many issues, many agendas from my head. So I'll do my best.
On September 1st, President İlham also received credentials of the newly appointed Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Greece, Nikolaos Pepedikos.
Zati Alileri, Cənab Prezident, Yunanistanın Azərbaycandakı fövqəladə və səlahiyyətli səfiri olaraq etimadnamamı sizə etmədən məmnunluq duyuram. Your Excellency, I seize this opportunity to convey to you the personal best wishes of my President and the aspiration of Greece to expand our cooperation in all fields of mutual interest.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Please also convey my greetings to the President of your country. You are in our country already for something more than 2 weeks, as far as I was informed, but you already learned some Azerbaijani language. Therefore, I'm grateful for your address in our language. So I hope that you already had time to get acquainted with our city. I hope that during your activity in Azerbaijan you will have a chance to travel around Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan and Greece, they have a very similar climate, so I think that this issue with climate situation will be familiar to you, so you will feel yourself comfortably in Azerbaijan. And also I hope that during the time of your activity in Azerbaijan we will find areas of cooperation which will allow us to concentrate on practical issues. Frankly speaking, last several years I think were the years of very low cooperation, low level of cooperation between us. In the previous times we had more active contacts, and as you know, I visited your country on official visit. 2 presidents of Greece visited Azerbaijan on official visit, Prime Minister. But after the previous government of Greece came to power, these contacts had stopped, and that was the initiative of the Greek government. So now actually we don't have any active contacts, we don't have exchange of delegations, and therefore we need to think how to plan our cooperation in the future. I will be open with you, Mr. Ambassador. Of course, diplomats, they have their own style of communications. I was studying in the institute which prepared diplomats, therefore I know what is diplomatic language, but I think that it's better to know the positions of each other in order to have a clear understanding where we are, what we want, and how we want to move forward. There have been several issues which I think negatively influenced our cooperation. One of them was issues related with Greek gas company DESFA. I can tell you that our energy company SOCAR joined the tender for purchasing DESFA on the request of the Greek government, and the previous Prime Minister of Greece, Mr. Samaras, personally asked me that SOCAR to participate in the tender procedure. And as a result of the open tender procedure, SOCAR made the best offer and won the right to owe DESFA. That was important also from point of view of our plans to build Southern Gas Corridor. It was 6 years ago, I think, something like 6 years ago. At that time, of course, we were only planning to build the connection between Azerbaijan and Europe, and we thought that it will be a good idea that if Azerbaijan will supply gas to Greece, it will be good to also have a company which will distribute it, the gas. Anyway, we made a down payment of 10% of the cost, which was 40 million euros. And for 4 years, from 2014 until 2018, this money was in the possession of the Greek government. But unfortunately, the previous Greek government did everything so that SOCAR lose this right, this legitimate right, which, once again, I'd like to say, we got based initially on the proposal of the Greek Prime Minister, and we got this right during the open and competitive tender procedure, but due to political reasons, due to negative attitude of previous Greek government towards Azerbaijan, we were deprived from this legitimate right. And of course, it seriously influenced our relations, which already were at a very low level. But after that, frankly speaking, we decided just if Greek government treats us like that, then we should also think how we will respond. So our response was actually doing nothing. We did not make any démarche, we did not make any diplomatic step. We just said, okay, if they don't want us, if they prefer other companies to be shareholders of DESFA, it is their right. We cannot do anything about that, but I can tell you that I raised this issue also on several occasions in Brussels with two former leaders of European Union, with Mr. Barroso and with Mr. Tusk. I raised this issue because it lasted 4 years. And I said, look, we are talking about trust. We are talking about new agreement between EU and Azerbaijan, which European Union actively is promoting. How can we strengthen trust if our company wins the tender, purchasing the Greek company, member of EU company, and then Greek government makes steps, and that step was through approval of new law in your parliament, which made this issue not possible. And then European Commission also did not approve the deal for 4 years. I said, tell us no. Tell us we don't want you. But keeping us, you know, in this situation for 4 years is not a sign of partnership. So that was a very disappointing issue, and of course it seriously influenced, I think, our relations. But again, it was not Azerbaijan who initiated that. Azerbaijan always was very supportive to development of ties. And by the way, you definitely know that TAP was not the only option for the transportation of Azerbaijani gas. There were several options where Azerbaijani gas can go after it reaches the Turkish territory. It could have had a different direction. But selection of TAP also was a decision made by investors, foreign oil companies, and Azerbaijan. So in other words, we made from our side positive gestures towards Greece, but after previous government came, I want especially underline it, because before previous government of Syriza came to power, we had very good relations with the previous governments of Greece. Second issue which I also want to raise with you, and so that you hear it from me, not from other sources, is our concern about military cooperation between Armenia, Greece, and Cyprus. As you know, Armenia is a country which occupies our territories, committed the act of genocide in Khojaly, made homeless a million Azerbaijanis, destroyed our historical and cultural and religious monuments, committed the policy of ethnic cleansing on the occupied territories, and is violating the international law, and is not complying with United Nations Security Council resolutions and other organizations. And by the way, 2 years ago, EU and Azerbaijan initiated the document which is called Partnership Priorities, where EU supports territorial integrity, sovereignty, and inviolability of internationally recognized borders of Azerbaijan. In other words, Armenia behaves in an aggressive way. Recent tensions on the state border provoked by Armenia, recent attempt to conduct act of terror where Armenian officer was captured when he penetrated the line, crossed the line of contact, and he already made confession that his group was aimed to attack our military servicemen and civilians. In other words, Armenia is an enemy of Azerbaijan, and that was their decision. So of course, close military cooperation of Armenia with any country is of concern. And probably you know about our reaction to the intensive supply of weapons from Russia to Armenia right after the Armenian provocation on the border. The active clashes stopped on July 16th, and starting from July 17th until yesterday was the last flight, there have been numerous cargo flights from Russia to Armenia through the Caspian littoral states airspace. So it's not only I'm telling to you, we also raise this issue with our Russian partners that military cooperation with Armenia is something which we are concerned of, because it possesses the existential threat to Azerbaijan, because using these weapons they kill our military servicemen, they kill civilians. So this trilateral form of cooperation is of concern. Of course, every country does what it thinks is right. Therefore, we are not in a position to block it or any way to prevent it. But I think it will be good that you hear from me that this is issue of concern, and why I also explained. It's not Azerbaijan who occupies Armenian territory, it's Armenia who occupies Azerbaijan's territory, which is reflected in the documents of all international organizations. And the last thing which I also want to raise is recent tensions between Turkey and Greece in the Eastern Mediterranean. I can tell you, and it's not a secret, that Turkey is not only a friend and partner, it's our brotherly country, and we support and will support Turkey in all the cases without any hesitation. And we see the same support from the side of our Turkish brothers. They support Azerbaijan in all the issues, and we support them in all the issues, including in the issue of their exploration in the Eastern Mediterranean. And I want you to know our position. This position was already officially articulated by Azerbaijani authorities on my instructions. And I can tell you that once again that Turkey for us is not just a friend, it's a brotherly country, and Turks are our brothers. So we will be always with them on all the issues. I want to find something positive just to raise, but unfortunately I cannot find. Probably we hope that the new government of Greece, which took the position relatively recently, will reconsider the policy of the previous government towards Azerbaijan, and we can restart communication, can restart talking on the issues which can create some positive dynamics. But of course it will depend on the policy and position of the Greek government. I think I will conclude now, and will give a chance to you to say what you think is right.
Your Excellency, thank you very much for your remarks on the status of Greeks Azerbaijani relations. I heard with very much attention what you said, and I'll transmit to my authorities what you said. But there is a change in last year. There was a change in government. Our government has a lot of issues to deal on all sectors, and it's a government who has considerable outreach. I think that there are many more things that unite Greece and Azerbaijan. For instance, is respect for international law, because it is well known that Greece is a long-standing, firm supporter of international law. Our cooperation was for sure much more developed some years ago, but the new government will do whatever is necessary in order to find better ways to reach out to you. And also I would like to say that from our perspective, your country and our country are countries with very interesting trilateral and bilateral cooperations. You have a lot of them. You have even a pattern of trilateral diplomacy. We have also our trilateral, very successful diplomacy with many important countries, especially in the Eastern Mediterranean. And we always take care not to harm our relations with Azerbaijan, respecting fully international law. And we would like to see this as much as you can reciprocate it. But personally, I think that the future of our cooperation and the present can become better given some time to the new government to find with your government the possibility to better our relations. At this stage, I think is what I can say.
Thank you. Thank you.
On September 3rd, President İlham Aliyev and First Lady Mehriban Aliyeva took part in the opening of Children's Art School No. 2, named after Vagif Mustafazadeh in Baku, which was overhauled by the Heydar Ali Foundation in the newly rebuilt educational building No. 3 of Azerbaijan State Economic University.
During the construction of Children's Art School named after Vagif Mustafazadeh and the new educational building of Economic University, along with the creation of a modern educational infrastructure, special attention was paid to the principle of protecting the historical heritage. The acquaintance of President İlham Aliyev and First Lady Mehriban Aliyeva with educational institutions has always begun in accordance with the rules of the quarantine regime. The building with a 116-year history has gone through different times. A hospital was located here, a secondary school functioned, and since 1940 it has been a music school. The previous photographs of the educational institution show that the building needed major repairs. This historical mission was carried out by the Heydər Əliyev Foundation, preserving the architectural style of the building and the original appearance of the facade. Vagif Mustafazade's room is also functioning. In general, the 7-year School of Pop and Jazz Art teaching is carried out in 13 specialties. The school, which pays special attention to soundproofing, has 385 students educated by 78 professors. Among the graduates of the Children's Art School is the Master of Jazz, Vagif Mustafazadeh, whose name this educational institution carries, together with Arif Melikov, Akshan Alizadeh, Oktay Zulfigarov, and other historical figures. The new educational campus number 3 of the Azerbaycan State Economic University, intended for technical and technological specialties, consists of 4 buildings. During the construction of the educational complex located on Murtaza Mukhtarov Street, historical and architectural elements have been preserved. A 2-story library which is open at any time of the day. A spacious gym. And 14 new laboratories that meet the latest requirements have also been built. The building also has 30 classrooms, 6 lecture rooms, 6 language labs, and other necessary infrastructure. In other words, an environment that meets international requirements has been created for 3,000 students to receive modern knowledge.
On September 1st, President İlham Aliyev and First Lady Mehriban Aliyeva took part in the opening of the 2 new buildings of AZTV University, got acquainted with the conditions created in the park located on the campus of this higher educational institution.
Space is one of the main issues in supporting pedagogical philosophy, and this strategy was seriously taken into account in the opening of 2 new buildings of the AZTV University, where the components of the future education have already been reflected. The new educational buildings have an assembly hall for 535 seats, 42 classrooms, 18 group rooms, 3 laboratories, a library, a cafe, recreation areas for students and school children, and other necessary premises. Building E houses AZTV School of AZTV University, which began operating in 2019. About 500 pupils of the 10th and 11th grade study here in English and Azerbaijani. Building D houses the Departments of State and Public Relations, as well as Business and Economics. Only in this building, about 1,500 students, including citizens of 45 countries, are receiving education. In general, AZTV University trained 2,000 diplomats and civil servants. The Park Commission in 2019 covers an area of 4.2 hectares. 280 species of plants have been planted here. An artificial lake has been created. By the way, the geothermal alternative energy sources existing on the territory of the university also support the heating and cooling systems of the new buildings. As to the perspective plans of AZTV University during President İlham Aliyev's visit to Italy between 19th and 22nd of February, discussions and cooperation in the humanitarian and education fields were held and documents were signed. It was decided to establish Italian Azerbaycan University in Azerbaijan. Thus, the concept of modernization of educational infrastructure, embracing modern trends, is focused on the future.
On August 30th, the inauguration of the Stambek Heights, a new military historical museum complex of the Great Patriotic War, was held in the Rostov region of the Russian Federation. Russian Russia 24 and Russia 1 TV channels broadcast reportages highlighting heroism of 416th Taganrog Division, consisting mainly of Azerbaijanis. The reportage featured an interview with President İlham Aliyev.
On August 31st, inauguration of the Stambek Heights, a new military historical museum complex, took place in the Rostov region. This museum, that wasn't coincidentally referred to as People, was created on the initiative of veterans and sculptors. Stambek is a place of fierce fighting, both in 1941 when the Nazis attacked Rostov and when our people went on the attack in 1943. The height is important not only for Russia but also for Azerbaijan. President of Azerbaijan also spoke about these events. The museum complex is located in an area where the real battles took place. The 160-kilometer meters of the 14.5-hectare battlefield along the front line, the regional governor Vasily Golubov said that destruction, barbarism and inhumane acts committed by the Hitlerites in our country had never been seen before. The memory of veterans and participants of the Great Patriotic War is cherished in every family. In the spring of 2017, 325 fighters were honorably buried in the Alley of Glory, and the names of 19 of them have been identified. The Military Historical Museum complex consists of 8 open spaces, including the Information and Exhibition Center, a small church, an amphitheater, and an apple orchard. Models of Hitler's fortifications were also built here. About 3,000 kilometers of trench were dug on the front line alone. That's twice the distance to Berlin. Stambek Heights are a series of heights, hills and mountains on the southern slopes of the Donetsk region on the right bank of the Mus River. The highest of these mountains in Saur-Magila, 4 kilometers away. Its height is 277.9 meters. Here, Stambek is at altitude of 100 meters above sea level. The Nazis did everything possible to make them inaccessible. The first memorial to the warriors of the Mus front was erected here in 1980 in honor of the 35th anniversary of the victory. This memorial was built at the expense of the Republic of Azerbaijan and with its active participation. A delegation led by Heydar Aliyev attended the opening ceremony. According to the national leader Heydar Aliyev, the magnificent monument erected on the Don land is a sign of respect and gratitude to the noble memory of all the heroes of Rostov region and the Azerbaijani workers who survived and died in these battles. President İlham Aliyev said more than 90% of soldiers in the 416th Taganrog Rifle Division, which liberated the Rostov region, were originally from Azerbaijan. The 416th Taganrog Division liberated not only Rostov, but also the entire Rostov region, including the city of Taganrog, after the division was named into the Taganrog Division. The head of state also noted that the cities of Melitopol, Chisinau and Odessa were also liberated by 416th Division. This division was especially distinguished in the successful Mozdok operation. In fact, this operation prevented the capture of Baku by the Nazis. Otherwise, the consequences of the Great Patriotic War would have been catastrophic. At the time, Azerbaijan supplied 80% of the fuel, of 90% of the lubricants for the front line. If Azerbaijan and its oil fields had fallen into the hands of the Nazis, the outcome of the war would have been completely different. The Don did not attract the Nazis only as a source of grain with endless fertile fields. The gates of the Caucasus, the roads to Maykop, Grozny, Baku, and then to Persian Gulf began here. During the 6 months that the 416th Division was on the Mus front, it suffered heavy losses and changed personnel 3 times. Azerbaijan has made a worthy contribution to our common victory. A total of 128 heroes of the Soviet Union are originally from Azerbaijan. Military hardware was produced in Azerbaijan. The enterprises worked day and night. The head of state said that 416th Division also distinguished itself in the capture of Berlin. The Kaiser Wilhelm Palace was captured by the soldiers of this division. A group of servicemen led by Azerbaijani Lieutenant Majidov set the victory flag over the Brandenburg Gate. According to the report, these rare shots and pictures showed the May 2nd, 1945 flag of victory flying over the symbol of Berlin. One of the participants of those events greets the regime and comrades in his native mountain village, surrounded by 37 grandchildren and 19 great-grandchildren. World War II veteran Alish Halilov greeted all the surviving soldiers of the Taganrog Division and congratulated them on the opening of the museum. We honored sacred memory of those who gave their lives for our common victory. Veterans in Azerbaijan are surrounded by attention and care. We have always spoken out and continue to speak out against the glorification of the Nazis to preserve the historical truths about the role of the Soviet Union in the victory over fascism. I'm sure that the opening of the new memorial will show this. We are trying to make sure that future generations do not forget the courage of our fathers and grandfathers, remember our common victory as a sacred value, know the truth about those who made a significant and decisive contribution to our common victory, said President İlham and congratulated the veterans, the peoples of Russia and Azerbaijan on the opening of this memorial complex and wished the veterans good health and prosperity. Thousands of artifacts collected from the family archives of veterans and the battlefield are displayed in the museum complex. The application of the latest technologies in the creation and operation of the museum is widely covered.
That was all for this week. See you next Sunday. Goodbye.